Welcome to Styled for Growth, the podcast where mindset meets style and presence becomes your power. I am your host, Antasia Shabrilla Moore, and each week we'll dive into the tools, truths, and transformation behind showing up as the woman you're meant to be, inside and out. Alrighty, y'all, what's going on? Okay, so episode 4, your style is a strategy, not a statement. I mean, we have to really think about it because the power of dressing when you have an intent in mind, seriously. So when you really take the time out to think about what that means, let's say for an example, you watch all the forensic file shows. I know myself, I get intrigued with some of these things. Or let's say I've been doing lately Fatal Attraction. So I'll and shout out to TV1. So I'll do them every Monday whenever I can at 9 o'clock. And you will see sometimes that you can really find the time where you're dressed to do your deed, whether it's to take somebody's life, okay, mind you, which of course is the ultimate sin. The devil only is here to kill, steal, and to destroy. So you're going to come across that way. But it's sad that we have that trope. Even when we're dealing with bank robberies, right? We always dressing for the event. We wear our ski masks. We don't want our identity known. We wiping down our fingerprints. So we're going to dress to wear the gloves so can't nobody figure out who we are. We're really secluded in secrecy. We don't want nobody to really know anything about us. We always want to get away with the things that we know we're not supposed to have been doing. But again, when you dress with intent to commit crimes, you really can do its opposite as well. You can dress with intent to succeed in life as well. If you want to show up well for your event and give off half-ass, then that's not really something that people are going to really necessarily find what's memorable about you. Necessarily what's memorable is having your launch in a kind of beautiful, secluded place or some kind of retreat type of vibe that really gives off that energy of kind of sort of that aura that you really want to be able to give some clients some things that is really worthwhile so they can really enhance their lifestyle or their mindset and what it is that they really want to accomplish in life, things that they wish to necessarily manifest so that that spirit is readily available whenever they need it. So that's the type of intention that you give off when you're presenting. Even speakers. I mean, I had went to an event with a CEO once, and we were before a certain type of presenters and things of that nature, and very well put together. A nice blue form-fitted dress, really willing to accept their award and things of that nature, even if they didn't feel good. Because sometimes we just don't feel good. I mean, I've never forget how many tears I've shed, personally speaking, just being in the front office, even though I'm supposed to be able to do what they're paying me to do, answer that call or be able to do all of these things and still have a mindset of being a go-getter, a gritter, a person that's full of grit that can handle whatever is thrown their way. So that intention is really intense. And then there was a moment where I actually got a compliment from our particular CEO at that point in time. I was just dressed like a regular day, had on all white little sneakers and had on dark denim jeans. We were allowed to wear a certain color of pant only. And so we did that one. And then it was a kind of sort of blue, purple and kind of like floral printed palm tree type of top that I actually got from Forever 21. And I actually got another compliment on that particular top as well. So when you're dressing with that intent, I had a very pretty bun at that time. I think, well, personally speaking, if I'm not mistaken, our hair was growing. So it was kind of get on that side of the longer. And ladies, you really have to upkeep your hair as well. That's a really big piece. For myself, though, it's not the biggest piece. Ultimately, it's always going to be the clothing and the style necessarily than our nails or our hair. So if you're really always going to be curious about that and you come in only on a podcast to see those things, then that's not necessarily what's going to resonate moving forward. And so as we figure out what our style DNA and our emotional alignment is with these type of ideas, I mean, just think about it. So if you're having a timeout and your CEO is taking a timeout to invite you to things, there's an emotional alignment as to why you're there. That point is that you can really give a first-hand witness type of thought for they are really well put together. And sometimes people didn't always like that. Sometimes people would say things about her and would say, for an example, like, yeah, they don't have the face for that. Even though a person's style, the way that they design their hair is not necessarily the in or beauty non-negotiable for that particular entity, but the fact that somebody else thinks that it is, it speaks to the level of their emotional alignment of what takes place around them. So you always want to be mindful of what you're saying. That's also a really key part. I've really been told quite a bit that people always want me to watch my tone. And personally speaking, I've never struggled with being any type of person about a tone. That's just not what I've been known to do. So I always found that offensive. And at the same time and token, I know for a fact I am well articulated. And yet, and still, you have people who hate on your tone. You still have people as well who choose to hate on the way that you speak, no matter what's taking place. Even if your tone is flaky or not, it's also not about that. It's about hatred. Okay, so you always want to steer clear of that. And then, as you really kind of sort of realize and come into your own as a young woman, as you kind of sort of figure out what your dreams are and you're manifesting the things that you think about as you become that successful young lady, you're going to realize that sometimes your style DNA can be a person that is not even related to you, but it can just be a simple example as we just did earlier, which was our CEO. Anne Marie Grassi. So let's say, for an example, I mean, it can be moments and times where people are really seeking your advice based off how you conducted yourself. And sometimes people really won't stop. I had an interview once before for a class that I was taking, and I want to say it was for some kind of ethnics class and something like that. So it was people from all around the world that we were studying, all the different ethnicities that were known to men at this particular point in time, which was around 2018. And as we were kind of sort of going through who's what and the different struggles that each faced, which we all have them, was one of the main common themes, I kind of sort of began to realize that there was a moment where I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, we've really been through quite a bit of different things in our lifetime. And as I get further into this interview, I realize that sometimes people really like to keep their style focused with things that are even beside them. Even for myself, if I'm really struggling, if I'm really stressed out, I want to have something close by that I can really reach out to whenever I feel like there's an issue that I'm having a problem with solving. And those type of moments are really rather quite frequent. And if you are a person who really has them rather rarely, I just don't know if you kind of sort of choose to ignore most of them sometimes, and that's why you feel that way, or if that's really just a thing that you just sometimes are blessed to have that type of entity. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I hate to be the type of person that feels like they're a know-it-all. You know what I mean? People who are really kind of sort of geared towards having an answer for every single little thing is necessarily not the person that you're constantly going to go to whenever you're having a struggle. Because therefore, they're not going to really help you solve it. They're already going to feel like they already knew what you were going to say. This, I said this last week. Why didn't you just listen when I told you then? And then, it's going to kind of sort of create those moments of um, resentment. So why would you wear influences how you lead personal style? So you know what I mean. And so personal style definitely equals personal presence. And so what you wear influences how you lead. And then this is in the prime example, which is so perfect because the simple fact that Anne Marie can really wear tailored pieces and she's actually a very authentic and strong leader. So that's a big piece of what authentic flow coaching embodies. And I guess that's something that I've just been taught. And I'm guessing that's just because that's something that really was something that I sought after and seeked out. And it's easy just to go straight through the 4 years, but it's really about having a real world experience. How many times have the kids graduated and they are just so blue underneath the collar that they fail to even really kind of sort of pursue their dreams and passions? And I hate to have that happen to you all. And then even when we kind of think about Napoleon Hill, and I'm going to get into a podcast a little bit later on, probably within a year or things like that, that really focusing on some of these books so I can really go deeper into those thoughts with you all. But there was moments where they're constantly talking about how you really can kind of sort of see that sometimes people are really kind of sort of going to have those moments where you can kind of sort of be so aware of that moment that you're leading people into these spaces, but you're not really sure. And then people are going to look to you a little less than they are necessarily the person that really is necessarily going to kind of sort of send out that invite or really put some kind of attention there towards the fact that I really want to kind of sort of have those experiences, and it's easy for those people to pick up on, because it's sad to see that sometimes you really can have people who are so mean to you where you don't even get a full education. So you have to go out and experience being inside of this real world, this reality where people are talking about you to the point where you can't even return to school to even profit your family any longer anymore, and really educate yourself to the point where you can be a value and service to someone else. So now you have to kind of combat those issues. Even for myself, there's been racism, there's been discriminatory, and I never forget. I mean, this memory was so sad, and I almost want to say it's something that I just flaked somewhere, something like an Anne Klein, the young lady who is one of the writers. I might have the name wrong or not, but so that you know. Anyway, and we were talking about how there was some moments where you kind of sort of had, and she was taking almost like plagiarism or something like that. So it was a really big deal. And I'm a writer, so y'all know that the BA degree that is in the Bachelor of Arts, which is in Writing and Creative Expression, that is really frowned upon in all of the universities across the world and around the entire United States of America. Really not to plagiarize anywhere, no matter where you are in the globe and on Earth, in the which is our planet Earth. Okay, so when I had those moments, and I'm like, we were out and about in Euclid, Ohio, and we went down by where water is really at, behind one of these senior homes or kind of event houses or something like that, right off Euclid and Babbitt, 260th and Babbitt or something like that around there. And so you go down, and I never, I mean, and I'm like I said, this is where I'm not sure if it's plagiarism or what, but I could have sworn on the side there said something about nigger. And I just literally was just like, wow, I've never had that. Well, I'm excuse that French for even having to even say those, but I just was so shocked by the temperament. I was just like, oh my God. And I'm not sure if it was done by a Caucasian. You know what I mean? That's really where the worst of the battle is from, the scars and sores, and that's just what it is. And so then you have moments where things like that are taking place and are happening right before our eyes, and then you have the discriminatory and racist thoughts that come forth, and again, it's always geared towards a certain race. And I hate to put that out there like that, and I know hatred is even a worse word. Martin Luther King probably shunned me now to death. And nonetheless, I hate to say it because I always feel like it's such a negative, but nonetheless, it doesn't take away from the fact that these things are necessarily what's taking place and what's going on. So you have to kind of sort of combat those issues nonetheless. And what takes place is that you can be a Black African American female like myself or Ali, a beautiful young lady who really has no issues, and that's just a fact of reality. That's the nature. There's really nothing else that's going on. People are always like, what is it? It's nothing to tell. Like, I don't have deep, dark secrets. I don't keep skeletons in my closet. So people are kind of shocked by this attitude. And I'm just as shocked when I realize that that's what they want, and they don't get those things, and they lash out. And we become kind of sort of aware of the discrimination and racist thoughts that actually are persistent and the underlying currents and causes of what these behaviors have triggered and are about. And that's really where you have to find your influences on how you lead based off what you're choosing to wear. And so some of them are not really dressed well. And then sometimes they can ask you some questions and you really give them honest answers, but it's not enough. It's never good enough. It's not a good enough answer to them, even though you did the best that you were possibly able to do. And still, again, at that point in time, it's not good enough. And so I'm not sure if that comes from an attitude of greed or if it's from discriminatory and racist thoughts because you're white and I'm Black. So therefore, it remains with those scars once more. And so you kind of sort of have the moments. Well, if I told you the answer that I gave you, which was a very honest one, at the end of the day, no one can take that from me. But maybe if I was white, would that have made it easier for you to handle? It would have been white on white. And if that's the case, then that's where you experience the racism from and the discriminatory actions based off one's color of their skin. And that's not something that you wish to embody by what you're wearing and give off those type of influences. Even when I think about the KKK, they wear those white sheets that influence their leadership is about white supremacy. And so again, you have to kind of sort of understand that that's where the culture and those type of thoughts stem from. And even I saw a post with Aaliyah. Somebody was saying something. She was on YouTube, and we take all these clips sometimes from the celebrities and we make it our main focal point as our content, which I'm not a big fan of that. I've unfollowed accounts. I love the artists, but since they were doing the artists that way, I began to unfollow and just follow the original accounts of the artists. And so that's how I came across the fact that Aaliyah's kind of presence was around somewhere, and people are constantly talking about how she was attracted to her mom, which I thought completely was a very bizarre thing for a person to choose to say. But then I thought about it, I said, oh, well, maybe if she was a white girl and she loved her mother so it'd have been adorable. But now because she's a black girl who felt love towards her mom, she's a gay person because now she's attracted to her mother. And I've never heard nobody say that before. So again, it falls back to having people who are discriminatory because of your color and your race of your skin. So therefore it felt like a racist remark. And again, that's really sad because we all know that Aaliyah is just an extremely sweet presence and persona, and that's what really makes it extremely hurtful. And I mean, here's when I think about the picture that her mother is in, just in those in tears. It only makes it look more so like a jerk move than necessarily one of empowerment. Okay, so that's why you always want to sometimes be mindful of what you're wearing, because what you wear is going to influence how you lead, how you show up, what you say, how you speak to people, your tone of voice. And personal style definitely does equal your personal presence. So if your personal style, I like to call it edgy chic, then it's probably going to give you that personal presence that's like you're probably on edge, right? Like don't mess with her, she's already on edge and she might be quick to cut or give you a quick jab, or she might be skilled in some kind of martial art. So you always want to approach with caution, or you want to be mindful of those things and then choose to approach this entity with caution that is necessary, that helps you combat those fearful thoughts, but also allow you to say, yeah, I am here, I might be edgy at the same token in time, but that's a personal style and that's the presence that I want to give off. Yes, I've been known to have people put their hands on me, so I might be a little bit more kind of combative than the lady who's only known to smell roses all day long in the flower garden. Or let's say, for an example, you have a lady who has that edgy chic kind of sort of presence, and that personal style that they give off is really resonated in their true live experiences. So therefore, it feels authentic. So you're not really able to have an attitude in that understanding there, because at the end of the day, you really trust and know that they've been through things that really has justified what their form of behavior was. So therefore, I'm going to end this here. So if you all want help defining your own style DNA, then download the free worksheet at www.payhip.com/authentic glow coaching. Thank you all so much for stopping by. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye bye.